Okay, so I hope my camera's set back right.
It is.
All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk. My name is Joyce Spencer Mintz, and I am coming to you live from our facility, my daughter's house. And of course, my partner always um, in what I do and everything we do, and we do for the glory of God. Miss Rosemary, we are so happy to have you tonight as well. We got a little disturbance going on somewhere in the background, but we're going to wait as people come and join in tonight. I really, really feel that the conversation tonight, it touches near and dear to my heart. And I really want to people to chime in, leave your comments. Believe me, we are watching. We are streaming live on Facebook as well as Joyce's Journey on YouTube. You also can catch the replay on Instagram. So, gonna say I've got a little disturbance going on down somewhere, and I'm not sure where it's coming from.
It don't
We're
sound
gonna
like it.
keep moving. Okay. So as long as we're clear, it might be some background because I don't have my ear plugged in tonight. But I want to thank everybody as you are coming in. Just say hello, leave your comments. If we don't get to answer every question now, we truly will get to answer them later. Um, so, all right, I see that Catherine is here tonight. She left a comment. Apparently, she hasn't gotten in on the guest to come in on the live stream, but I'm glad you're here tonight with us. Um, so, I want to say tonight, our real talk subject is stop, don't do it. As you all know, I always give this disclaimer before we start. You have the right to agree or disagree with anything that we say here, and we're still going to love you. We hope that a word said, a prayer prayed, a conversation had will not only help you to be better, but to do better. Let us not just be hearers of the word, but doers of the word. Let our actions speak for everything that we do. Let our actions speak for itself. We want to talk tonight. It was on my heart all day. It is Suicide Prevention Month. And I have had some quite interesting conversations with people close to me um, concerning that matter. And I'm really glad tonight to have Miss Rosemary, and we also have Catherine chiming in on comments. So um, I'm sorry. I lost track for a moment, but I'm back. So I wanted to say that it's really important that we focus on this and provide as much information as we can. A lot of times we tend to ignore signs or symptoms of people who are almost at the edge where they just said, you know, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So my topic, my title tonight was stop, don't do it, because I want us to be able to give some encouragement or as well as information to people who may find themselves in these situations. So, I guess I would like Rose for you to share with us um, your take, or if you have had a life experience where you felt like there was just you were just at your end and couldn't see your way out. Have you had a situation like that in your life?
Um.
And
Well, I mean, I don't know because I'm a pretty optimistic person, and usually if something adversities come, I usually rise up against them more than anything because it make me mad. I don't like anything to beat me, but I have seen it like with other people I've been around. Even like in middle school and high school. Um, I think I've had a few classmates who have gone who actually went through with it. Um, and I don't know. Um, come in on this thing.
Mhm.
And Tanya, Tanya said she was hold on, 'cause I got Tanya here too.
Okay, so we have another guest on our line tonight, Miss Tanya, and we are so glad to have you aboard tonight.
Hi.
Hi, so would you like to share a life experience that you may have had dealing with people and suicide?
Mine was more a few years back when I found out about my daughter situation of her being molested and raped. And at that time, although I grew up in a home where, we went to church and believed in God and prayed and everything else, at that point, I felt like that I was at my lowest um, point because during that time it was where we was going through the investigation to where we had to be careful about what we said, what we did, among a lot of other stuff. And where it was devastating to me, I was to me, because although it happened to her, it was brand new versus my daughter that had went through the situation. And so although they were receiving previous counseling, and when that came about, and um, at that point I was really trying to deal with making sure that all of them was getting the help that they needed, and I wasn't taking care of me. And I remember at one point having like an anxiety attack, and I never had an anxiety attack, and it scared me so bad because I thought I was having a heart attack. And when I got to my lowest, to a point, it was like I had gave up. I was going through depression, and I just felt like, when you hear these things, you never um you really don't know until you go through it. And even though the devil was like, you should do this or you should do that, what kept me was the grace of God, and having those conversations with someone.
A lot.
Uh-huh. Hello? Hello? I think there's
Oh, you could have kept going. You could have kept going. They were still talking.
okay.
Oh, you were fine to keep going.
Okay.
Keep going. We're still here.
So when that happened, a lot of thoughts crossed my mind, and I never thought that I would be, you know, I never thought it would happen to me. And to go through the emotions from the depression and thoughts of like suicide, and I got to a point that, you know, my mother had to pray me out of, she had to pray me out of my
We're
bedroom
still
at one
here.
point. And so with that being said, you know, you never know until you go through that situation, as far as, suicide of, or thinking of committing suicide, or even the suicidal thoughts. So that was my story. So I tried to be, when people are going through, you just never know what people are going through. Like they were talking about the young man that committed suicide the other day. I think it was in high school, somewhere locally.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about the young man that, he had been bullied. They would treated him a certain way, and they had stated because he was different. So you just never know what a person is going through, and their breaking point. So that's my story.
Well,
I'm sorry it was a little long.
oh no, it's okay. We really appreciate any information, and any time that a person feels like they want to share. That is what Real Talk is all about.
Mhm.
I really strive to get a message out when I'm led and God leads me to talk about a subject. I want to come to you real, and that's why we call this real talk, because it comes straight from the heart. We don't rehearse this. We don't practice it before we get on camera. We just bring it to you real and raw. And so I want to say to you and ask the question, because when you said about, getting to that point where you felt like you just wanted to, give up. And we were just
Mhm.
talking, you were talking about, the case where we know we just had a teen that committed suicide. Um, a lot of times, just like you're saying, were there forewarning, or did this desire just overcome you at one time?
It was more of it. It was a desire that came over me just at one time because I just felt like um I felt as a mother that although, I raised my kids a certain way and I thought that I did everything I knew to do to keep them safe. And when that happened, it was just like my hands were tied um, through the process because it was a long process where they had to, go through the investigation. And so where I remember when I started having that anxiety attack, I thought everything was fine and I was watching TV and in my heart, I just started breathing heavily and just started breathing fast. And I remember calling my mother and saying the Lord's Prayer because I thought I was having a heart attack. And so with that going on and then still trying to maintain, I wasn't taking care of myself. I was taking care of my kids that were around me, my children. And it got to the point that it was so overwhelming because it was like, other than having a conversation with my mother and the way we was raised, it was, it was hard. It was a lot to bear because, when you're with someone, it never crossed your mind that when you tell your kids that, you know, um, to beware of strangers and you have this conversation that the person is actually um, within your home, your husband. So for me, it was very overwhelming for me. And with going to I started off going to a therapist, and then they had a support group and a separate therapy for the kids, and you it it was a lot, and to have to go through the program because of what had happened and hear those things, it was almost like something that you see or hear off TV. So it took them a couple of years to tell me probably 10 or 20% of what went on because even to this day, I felt like if I heard the whole entire story, that I probably would have been worse off, you know, than I was at that point. So, you can never say what a person goes through until you actually witness it yourself. Because I truly thought that I would never go through that. Had never witnessed a anxiety attack, and when that happened, it just uh, it was a lot. And if it wasn't for the grace of God and prayers and my mom praying and fasting and me anointing my head, I was going down a dark road because I felt like at one point I didn't have any other options, and that's sad to say. And it wasn't so much of it was more so of the ordeal and trying to deal and still, be a mother and making sure the kids are being taken care of and maintaining the household. It was just a lot for one person and, trying to go to school and work, So, um,
So, I mean,
yeah.
so what I heard you say was too, the burden of all the responsibilities you were carrying. Um, a lot of times too, I hear where it's not being heard, or guilt and shame of feeling like you could have done more, or feeling I didn't, um taking the blame for something that, wasn't done by your hands, but
Mm-hmm.
you took on the weight of that. And that is the thing right there that I really want to talk about too tonight, because even with our young people, they take on a lot of weight that they cannot handle. And then it leads them down the road of no return. They don't feel like they can come back from this, or it's just too much to bear, and the only exit you can find is I'm just going to end. So for those that are having those thoughts and feeling overwhelmed, um, and being, burdened down, we want you to know that there is, there that to stop. If you're thinking about doing it, don't do it, because there's always an avenue of escape. Um, I don't hide the fact that I'm a Christian woman, and everybody knows that, and I hope they do. And if they don't, they do now. But I try to live my life according to the Word of God, and I'm so grateful and thankful, because when you look at people, you never know what they're going through. You don't know their story. You don't know the inside thoughts that are going on in their head. And a person can look like they're well put together, and all day long they're just figuring out how they can just end it. Let me just finish this because I'm just so done. And so, I've experienced that feeling in my life, when I was younger. So I know exactly how it feels, and I know that everyone's experience is different. But I also know that we are also good at wearing a fake face, because we could be smiling and grinning and acting like everything good and go right home and end it all. How many times you read in the paper where somebody was just having
Yeah.
dinner with somebody, and the next hour they've taken their life? So
Yeah.
I say, for us, and anyone who's on this video tonight, and I see Catherine has something she put up here, and she said that she was told, Catherine said, I was told when I began to feel overwhelmed that I am to inhale the positive things and exhale the negative ones. So that's an awesome thing that you can utilize, the inhaling and the exhaling.
Mm-hmm.
That inhaling positive things and exhaling the next negative. So I think that's an awesome way also to release stress. We also learned that um, meditation, prayer, um, and when you can, and especially isolation is one thing that when people are contemplating suicide, I think isolation is not a very good thing either, because they will tend to isolate themselves. And when you're alone, of course, your mind is going so many different places. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, sometimes it's good to have that friend or that person that you can call and just get it out, to talk to, that will just listen to you. They don't have to say anything, just listen. Because sometimes they just need to be heard. And so I want to ask you ladies tonight too, Tanya, I know you said with the prayer, and your parents praying for you, you in prayer, anointing your head. So what are some other things that, can be utilized, offered to people who may be going down that road? Chime in.
So some of the things that helped me is that I did a self-evaluation, and during the process of that, one of the things my mom told me was some breathing techniques like your friend had mentioned. And there's some people, like for me, I would walk. That would help me with my stress a lot. When I would walk or listen to music, or I learned how to, when I saw myself getting into that mode, I would do different things that were what I considered that would help calm me, or my comfort zone. whether it was, doing something with, some friends or going to the beach and, you know, um, going to the beach and doing like an ocean front or just, just different things that I would do. And then I started making sure because my sister is actually a therapist. And when I got to a certain level, she told me some different things of what to do, whether it was the breathing technique or, seeking out for a, a therapist to talk to. And like I stated that, walking or exercise, and that helps out a lot. Because at one point I was turning to food as comfort, and when I started turning to food as comfort, that was like what, a bad thing to do to a certain extent, because I was eating I felt like I was eating my problems away by finding comfort in food. So I learned some techniques that have helped along the time. And even though, suicide had crossed my mind, it was just like, the word of God and what we were raised at, if you get to that point, or if you commit suicide, that's not of God. And so things like that is what crossed my mind. So I felt like, it was nothing but the devil trying to discourage me. And I prayed, but I prayed even more during that time, because of the situation, because I felt like I was at my lowest too, if that makes sense.
Yes, indeed. Well, Catherine also added a comment and said that she was told that she needed to identify what she was feeling and to
Mhm,
name and to put a name to my feelings.
mhm,
So, when you find yourself overwhelmed, that's another technique that could possibly help by,
exactly.
identifying what it is and then calling it out, putting a name to it. And she also added that listening is a gift. Absolutely. Um,
Yes.
Renee?
everybody can't listen. I
I
always
said,
say that I always say we can sing together, but we can't talk together. Because if we both
Mhm,
talking, somebody's not listening.
mhm,
So it definitely is a gift. And I also wanted to say tonight, and I pray that this video continues to stream well and we have no complications. Rosemary, would you like to add something to this?
just on the non-emotional side, I know that before, when I would have, I remember I had one time I had a thought of I should just end it all. I used to just wake up like that, and the first thought on my mind is, yeah, I should end it today, and that would be the first thought. And it just turned out that it was my medication. For me, it was
Mm.
my medication that was sending me there.
Oh,
So
mhm,
I'm saying
mhm,
on the other end, people do like they're
mhm,
medicating their children. They do need to check their medications because I was taking a medicine that its side effect was depression.
mhm. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard it yesterday. Because one of my coworkers, she had shared that with me, and she was saying that one of the medications she was on was causing her to have depression and anxiety, and she
Yeah.
was saying that she was going to eliminate that. Um,
Yeah, and I think I took it once or twice, and then I didn't never took it again. I said, I'm done with that.
well, I want to say right now we have another guest on stream, and I just invited in our sister and our long-time missing co-host, one of our co-hosts, Miss Trudy.
hey,
And I'm really glad to have you tonight because we've been trying to catch up with you now for a few months. So, welcome to the live stream, and I'm so glad you made it in. So, we are talking tonight about suicide, and the title is Stop, Don't Do It. So, we want you to, we're sharing life experiences that we may have had, and with someone that you know have committed suicide, or information you may want to share to help someone who is contemplating it to stop and don't do it. So we got a little disturbance going on somewhere, and I'm gonna mute my mic.
I'm
So,
gonna mute mine, so I think it's mine. So I'm
all
gonna
right.
mute.
So, Trudy, would you like to comment on that? And welcome to Real Talk tonight, my sister. Can't hear you.
How y'all doing tonight? Can you hear me?
All right. Now we got a volume.
Um, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Well, I myself have thought about suicide. Actually, that's what led me to Christ. Um, I just didn't feel like I was doing it, but he saw fit for me to.
We got a little disturbance going on. We had you in clear, and now you're beeping out a little bit.
I myself had contemplated suicide,
Mm-hmm.
but God saw fit. Can you hear me? Hello?
You might have to take
We've
your
got
earpiece out and just put it on speaker. That's what I had to do.
Are you able to do that? So we're going to, Trudy's getting her mic together, guys, and we're going to wait for her to come back because she's actually adding information to this broadcast, and I'm really glad to have her here tonight. Um, so Trudy, you may want to move to a different spot um, and just adjust your mic or take your earplugs out. But in the meantime, because we can't hear you right now, and I really want to hear your story. So I'm hoping that you get your earbuds together and come on in this broadcast and share, share, share. So, Rosemary, I know you went to mute. So I'm going to say this while we're waiting on the soundcast to come in from our other guests.
Yes,
There,
ma'am.
all right. So we were still waiting on Trudy to get her sound in.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, we're going to just try to keep moving until we can get her broadcast in. So I also wanted to be aware tonight. We
Go to settings and hit the default and go to audio and make speakerphone your setting.
okay. I have not a clue about that right now. I really
Oh,
don't.
I'll talk to Trudy.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you were talking to me, and I was like, okay, I didn't do anything wrong this time. I tried to keep this broadcast rolling tonight, and that is exactly what we want to do. So when she comes in, you're helping her get her volume right. So I want to say to the in the meantime, while we're waiting on Trudy to come back in, we were talking about not only adult suicide but teen suicide. It is important. And last week I was talking about our children and them going back to school and all the pressures that they are facing. And we thought about the kids in Valdea, in Uvalde. They were really frightened about going back into a school after so many children were massacred due to gun violence. And so I was really praying for those children to be able to have the strength and the courage to go back um, into a teaching environment, and that those fears that they overcome the anxiety of the fears that have been put upon them. So I want you all to stay in prayer about that as well and understand that um, there's no exemption for suicide. It's just like a bullet, um, a stray bullet. You never know where it can hit. So just because a person doesn't look like they might be the type, it doesn't mean that they're not. And it doesn't mean that they're not going through something in life that has caused them to think that way, change their way of thinking. So when you see someone and you find a change in their behavior, or you know that some things they're doing are different, a lot of us can recognize signs of depression. And that is definitely one of those things that can drive a person to suicide. We being women that encourage other women, and we do our best to empower them. We don't exclude the men either, but it is so important that you lift up your sister. Don't don't tear her down. You already see her broken. Don't break her down some more. If you know somebody is struggling and going through, don't stand back and say, "Oh, girl, if that was me." If it's something you can do to help, please try, because you never know when you help someone. Just the small thing you do may have saved their life. um I can remember being in places in my life and being in one day I'll get the chance to really share my story. That's another day and another time. But I know what it's like to not want to be here anymore, to want to end it and to be weighed down with that burden. So I say to each and every one of us, let us be mindful, be more aware of the people around us. Because just because we think people are okay, it doesn't mean they're okay. Cries for help come in so many ways if we just open our eyes and look. So, that being said, Rose or Tanya or Kathy, I am reading your inputs. If you want to type something else in the comments, I will make sure it come across. But if you ladies have something else that you want to add to this broadcast,
Mo- I was reading, Mom, when you were talking about that, and it was saying some of the things that could help is finding a therapist or support group, building and using a support network, and making a safety plan for yourself. Those are some of the top ones that they were talking about. And also, um, the number for the suicide crisis lifeline, they said you can
mm-hmm,
call 988 or text.
mm-hmm,
So,
absolutely. And I'm going to put that up in the chat, because I also want to make sure that we add that, because this is Suicide Prevention Month. And someone type that up in the chat for me. I
Put
would
it in the description box too.
Okay, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Do that. So we want you to know that there's always help there. And I'm actually reaching out to you from my daughter's house, and we are located in Winston-Salem, 1495 Rincon Drive, Suite 202. Um, our number is 336-448-5289. You can always reach out, call us, or go to our website. I'll add that in the description box. Um, and reach out and contact. If you just need to talk to someone, if you need help, whatever it is that you need, we will try to assist you in whatever it is that we have to provide for you. But understand that you are not alone, and in whatever the problem is, it's not so bad that you have to leave. Because guess what? If you stick around, tomorrow will be a brand new day and you get to start over. Okay, so whatever it is that's bothering you at this moment or this time, I ask that you release and let it go. You let it go. Let it go and let God. That's what we say. Let go, let God. Because you will have the opportunity, if you don't leave here today, to face tomorrow. So I just say that I know there is some struggles going on, and parents, I want you to be aware. Start talking to your children. Quit assuming everything is okay, because they lay in the bed and cry at night too, and think about ending it all. And you want to know how I know? Because I get those calls. So be aware of your children's surroundings. Show them love. Just because they're coming in acting like everything's okay, a good conversation of you just listening, some things will tell you to lead you to other questions to ask. It doesn't mean you have to know all their business, but you do need to be aware of what's going on in their lives. And that sometimes is the key that makes children or young adults want to leave here, is that they feel nobody cares about them. Nobody really cares what I do. Nobody's really concerned about me. So those are those negative thoughts that they have, and they continue to hear or see all over the screens and scripts of TV and programs. Sometimes we got to turn it off and have real communication and conversation with our young people. So y'all know I'm always going to add my little tidbit at the end of the night. So there it is. Okay. Mama Joyce's love. Okay. I want you to replay this. I want you to get the lifelines, the 988 suicide prevention call number. If you know somebody who is talking about it, don't keep it a secret. Lead them to the way to stay. Give them the information needed. And if you know that someone shared with you that, don't be afraid to let someone else know, because the life you save might be your own. They very well might want to take themselves out and take you with them. So let's be mindful of all this that has been said tonight. And to God be all the glory in everything that we do, guys. I'm always going to add that to our disclaimer now, because this is not about us. This is all about the glorifying of the Lord that we serve and helping people, because we want to help people, not just to do better, but to be better. And when we say be better, not just look like you better on the outside, but be better on the inside. Like Tanya, our guest, was sharing, I'm all for someone building a wellness plan. You need to know what it takes to keep you well. And that means, if that means that you need to write that plan out and then share it with someone, do that so they know. If you're not calling them in a day or so, they know I need to pick up the phone. I need to come over to that person's house. But do that, because it is a necessity. Mental wellness, physical wellness. Okay, create an action plan and contact us. I love you all. Anything you want to add tonight, Miss Rosemary, before we chime out? Or Catherine?
I'm good, Tanya. You got anything? No, we good over here.
All right. Well, I want to thank you ladies for assisting tonight on the call. Trudy, next week, we'll get you in and you'll be in a spot where your audio is great, and I'm looking forward to it. I love you all. This is Joyce Spencer Mintz signing out from Real Talk. You all have a great night.